Hey guys, Tommy Carrigan with Tommy Untamed. We've got a great show coming up. Thank you for watching. We're going to discuss something very near and dear to me, and it's suicide. Obviously, anyone that listens to the show knows I lost a brother to suicide. He was not in the military, but to me, suicide. I don't care how it happened. It happened, and it sucks, and it scars everyone around you forever. And with that, gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. So sacred and profane. That's how we're beginning, right?
Yes,
Just
sir. What's
three whole men having a conversation. If it's all right, Tommy, if it's okay, uh, we're really big on the practice of counsel, right? And you started off right off the bat. And in the practice of counsel, we just, because we're leaving one space and coming into another, right? Like you just had an event. That was a cosmic event. And so we're creating sacred space here, right? And so we're coming into this threshold and speaking from the heart, listening from the heart, getting to the heart of the matter, being authentic and
Mm.
real, and just being spontaneous, not making anything up, and that's our way, and so we're really grateful. My name is Ryan. I'm a CB veteran, did a few tours to Iraq. I have the greatest job in the world. I get to live my life's purpose by bringing our brothers and sisters that have served and others out into the land to find themselves really upstream of suicide prevention to claim their truth on the long journey home from military service. That's who I am.
Thank you.
Oh man. Hmm. And I'm Mark Oravsky, born and raised in Trent, New Jersey. Served a little, somewhere around 14 years, Army infantry. Grew up in a socioeconomically challenged area. Joined the military to, get away from all that nonsense. I am a husband and father, and the co-founder of Veteran Rights. Yeah, so that's me.
Thank you. And real quick, because I'm sure I probably just lost about half our listeners with my opening. For anyone that's still here and before they leave and I scare them off again, which I'm bound to do at any moment, how can people the website's in the description. How can people support y'all? Can they just go donate?
They can do that, and they can do what you're doing, Tommy.
Yeah.
Holding space, spreading awareness, being in relationship. That's it. Coming out to the land. We got a beautiful initiate veteran of Afghanistan who's doing the Spartan race,
Hmm.
and he's raising awareness and money and for funds. It's all on our donate page at www.veteranrights.org. We'll get all into that, so I appreciate that. But this is it right here. Having real, authentic, open space to talk about this thing, to talk about suicide, being fully human, and coming home as a veteran.
Do y'all find that people are more open to come experiment with you guys because of the desperation that suicidal ideation causes? I mean, it's kind of like heating up a metal to work with it. It's a lot easier when the thing's near molten. And unfortunately, people are a lot more malleable when they're on the verge of, I mean, there's no greater decision than to end your own subjective experience in this reality and go over whatever threshold there is. I would imagine that makes them much more pliable to, sure, I'll go try this thing.
Yeah, there's something immediately hitting me, and in relation to the question that you're asking, and that is, yes, yes, and yes, it is awesome, and it works best when people are at a place of vulnerability and a depth of despair that creates an openness and a willingness to participate in just about anything to overcome that despair. And it also takes individuals like us doing what we're doing right now, which is talking openly about the nature of suicide and the catalysts or the circumstances that drive one towards suicidal ideation and or the act of actual suicide, which means talking about feelings.
Yeah.
And we have to be open to talking about those things because they're real, they do exist, you know. And if we continue to operate from a space of stuffing them deep down inside, which is something that the military teaches us to do, it's something that our parents have taught us to do, then we're never going to get to the roots and be able to extract those roots from the ground that cause and grow into suicidal ideation trees. You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
Tommy, like, if knuckle draggers like us, right, can talk about love and vulnerability and strength and wholeness and resilience and hold the sacred and the profane and talking about what happened on the treadmill all together because veterans, we're grimy, right? And we're very tender and have an innocent warrior inside of us, right? If we can hold that wholeness, and that's been the gift of this ceremony that we've been gifted in this way of life, then, there's hope for the world. Yeah.
About what Mark was saying about that pliability. I mean, right, that's probably one of the reasons, right? You said you joined the military to get out of a shit situation. You probably, some people might, but you might not do that if, like me, I grew up in a very loving household in an upper class neighborhood with private schooling. Those pressures weren't forced on me, right? So it's kind of that same idea.
It is.
And I think there is also something about go on.
Well, I was just going to say that you did grow up in that environment. Were you also invited to talk about how you felt?
Very much so. And I think that's what makes it much more tragic. There's a certain level of privacy I hold around what happened with my brother, just because I do have, two other siblings and two parents. And, whereas I'm a jackass and get on a microphone and yell every day, they have their private lives.
Yeah.
But no, that's without giving away too much privacy, that's what makes it all the more tragic. Is there was I genuinely 1,000 out of 1,000 times would choose this incarnation again. I mean, I really, it's not that I was born on third base. I was born an inch away from home plate. Like I had to do nothing to have a wonderful life and still have a wonderful life. And that's what, but so like after I lost my brother, I took me about 2 years to fall from, being in great shape, getting into medical school, having the smoking hot girlfriend, to putting on, I think, exactly 67 pounds in 2 years, long, greasy hair, just a real slob, like literally stopped like brushing my teeth, wasn't employed, had nothing even resembling a sleep schedule. And
Mhm.
that helps me when talking to friends who I fear are maybe suicidal. Because before I lost my brother, right, and the approach, and we've all done it, and we've all had the approach done to us is, hey, bro, I'm here if you need to talk, which is sweet. And I get I do appreciate the notion, but it's also, kind of completely worthless horseshit. It's much more valuable when instead of saying like, hey, bro, I'm here to talk, you just call up your friend and be like, yeah, man, I remember there's one day in July where it was just an average day that I woke up at 2 in the afternoon, drank a bottle of cough syrup, took a hit of acid, and that's just how I started my day. And it kind of catches them off guard. And they're like, "What did you just say?" And it's like, so how are you doing, buddy? And when you lower your threshold of vulnerability so low, it's like they almost feel like, well, I can't embarrass myself now. I mean, not even trying to, but we started this show with like, hey guys, thanks for doing this. I almost just shit my pants on the treadmill. Would that be a hate crime?
Yeah.
It immediately just kind of takes the air out of the room, and you're like, I think it might be. Anyway, let's talk about suicide, right? So there is that kind of, do y'all feel that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It reminds me in a lot of ways of when I was new in this veteran service game, and I was really experiencing the beginning or the entrance point to a lot of the healing that I've gotten to go through and experience. We were sitting down at the upper floor of the Washington Department of Veterans Affairs. And there's all these big wigs sitting around the table from, U.S. representatives, Congress, senators, people that represented different, three-letter agencies, state, federal, and they wanted to open a meeting talking about suicidal ideation and harm reduction in the state of Washington. And they opened this business meeting in business fashion with an agenda, right to the point, everything in square linear lines, the same way that you would imagine in a corporate office building. And at one point, being a very new and full of vigor veteran, I stood up and I was like, stop what the you're doing.
Yeah.
We need to actually have a check-in.
Yeah.
I need to know how the people across from me are feeling right now in this moment. Did you sleep well last night? Did you get laid? Did you get in an argument with your partner? Did you wake up feeling shitty and not brush your teeth? If we're going to have a conversation about suicide, we need to stop following this agenda, because we're talking about a matter of the heart and a matter of the soul, right?
Yeah.
And that really, it was very impactful. So yes, authenticity.
This is why we're talking, man. You know what I mean? It's like why it's like why in our community we say I love you all the time because we know every time we say I love you could be the last time,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's why after, after my tour and service and really finding a lot of good purpose and direction and all that kind of stuff afterwards, I still had a gaping hole in my soul, right? And that there was something was missing, and that I could go out on a Mission Continues project or any other kind of thing out into the world. It looked like on the external facing, like I was the model transition veteran, but I had a gaping hole in my soul. And we know that we could be in conversation with a veteran on Sunday at a service project, and on Tuesday they're gone. So we're not wasting any time.
Yeah.
Slow urgency, get to the heart of the matter. And what you brought up was this, you were like asking that question, how are you? Which usually like unloads this like biographical type of thing instead of like, how are you really?
Yeah.
What is really going on in your being? And if we can normalize that conversation, the sky's the limit. That's how we're going to get out of this.
And there really is like no, it's like in the Cold War when whenever we'd come close to nuclear war, there'd be posturing, and it's, $1 trillion America versus trillion ruble Soviet Union, and just big dick bravado, and it's the highest echelon of the rarefied air of who's going to control the human civilization. And then whenever we get really close, you'd almost see like the exterior crack, right? Whether it's JFK having Bobby Kennedy go talk to Khrushchev, or like Reagan trying to meet with Gorbachev and Reykjavik. There's this moment where everyone, or even that Russian sailor who was like told to fire on the embargo around Cuba, and he told his men to stand down. There's always this moment of everyone, so it's like, hold on. And it's kind of fascinating. And I'm just realizing it now as I'm saying this, is because that's suicide. It's global thermonuclear war. It's not about should I kill this person, right? That's kind of accepted in warfare. Everyone's like, hold on, because this is my own death. And it is amazing that even the president in the middle of a nuclear bunker, they can have that moment of, am I ready to go over the edge? Because that's what this is. And it's no. And so even at those levels, it trickles down to the quote unquote lowest among us, like us doing a podcast right now, because I'm trying not to shit my pants, or being a president in a nuclear bunker in 1962. And I think we all have to be open to that, and realize that this is my logic. So like when I was really suicidal, I remember I decided to take as much psilocybin and LSD as I could. I'd only done it like a couple times in my life. And they say like a heroic dose is 5 dried grams, or they say, a big dose of LSD is what, 200, 300 micrograms. And I'd done it on maybe 3 occasions before. All right. Once right when I finished college, and that's when I decided I didn't want to go to medical school. A second time on the 1-year anniversary of my older brother's suicide. They always say you should be in a good set and setting when you do drugs, and I always did the complete opposite. I was like, you know what a flutter, and this podcast is just going to be all over the place. Do you know what a flutter test is? It's like when an Airbus A380 or like a 747, before they go into production, they take them and they bring them down almost at a nosedive, and they bring it up to like 0.99 Mach to see if the thing will break, because they will never actually get that close in real life. So if they're safe at that, then they're safe for passengers. My logic was always like, let's do a flutter test. It's the 1-year anniversary of my older brother taking his life. Today is the day for acid. And you would go into that, and if you could survive that, and I did, you'd come out feeling much better. So when I was suicidal, I mean, really, had moved past ideation and, I wish I didn't wake up, to like, how am I going to do this? Like, what's the actual plan? Like, how, what should I write down? I was like, all right, well, I'm about to pass the threshold of heaven and hell might be real. Like, all right, it's kind of a big pill to swallow. Like, what's on the other side? Like, oh shit, like grandma might have been right. It might be fire and brimstone. It might be nothing. It might be some weird reincarnation. It might be like returning to the womb. And who knows? But whatever it is, hey man, like it's past bluffing. It's past listening to an emo song and drinking. You're about to do this. Okay. So I took 1,250 micrograms of LSD, and I took about 30 dried grams of psilocybin. which I know sounds like horseshit, but I swear on my brother's life, that's what I did. And I tripped dick for about 14 hours. And eventually I came to the conclusion from what little I remember at the peak, because I could barely understand the human language. And it was, if you don't survive this now, you're gonna have to do it again. And I just couldn't shake that idea. It wasn't that there was punishment. It wasn't that there was reward. It was just like a very, just almost neutral but loving, just like your dad teaching you a lesson when you're a little kid. It was God. I don't know what it was. It was just this kind of like, hey, if you do this, like a lot of people around you are going to be very hurt. And that's fine because they're in this incarnation too. But you have to come do this again. Like you have to retake the course. And it was so simple to me that I was like, well, I don't want to retake it. And so the next day, in that complete state of vulnerability, I called my parents and was like, I have to come home. I have to, like, I'm not okay. And that's shooting up the flare. And so they came and got me, and I had to go live at home from age 26 to 31, like a complete loser. But I know I just ranted for like 5 minutes, but that's kind of my logic about all of this is you almost have to go to brinkmanship to back down and go, I don't want to fire the missiles. I don't think you do either. Maybe Ivan and Bob can talk it out. So I'm going to shut up now and let y'all talk.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot in response to that. So, I mean, I hear the story of a young man on the in another podcast you had mentioned you'd opened your heart to God.
That was
And
after, talking to Charlie Duke in 2020.
yeah, so I really like when you said that like that
Thank you.
opened my heart up to you a little bit more and really excited and honored to be here. Is it another name for God is the gift of desperation, right? And when you're also speaking the language of ceremony, you're speaking the language of a rite of passage, you're speaking the language of a dark night of the soul, and that like we have to go inwards. We have to. And the rite of passage that we hold in ceremonial and reverence out there for veterans on the land is 12 days with 4 days of fasting for people to truly go in and have what you have described, whether that's with 30 grams of mushrooms and all this, but you can do this thing with nature as well. And your own internal wisdom is a death and rebirth of your soul and your psyche. And that is what happened. And you've come out, shaken off all that dust, reborn. And look where you are now. Look what you're doing.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yes,
It's a
sir.
great teaching, and it's a way to live actually. Anytime our shit comes up, that no matter how much the defecation is hitting the rotary oscillator, there is a part of you and a light inside of you that has never been wounded and is just screaming to be reborn.
I I think about and reflect on your story, and we share a lot of similarities, my friends. And I won't in this moment go into detail about my own personal explorations with psychedelics, and that place of desperation that you speak of, where I'm faced with a decision. We're faced with a decision. Do I take the ultimate plunge into the great unknown, the great mystery, through means of physically harming myself in a way that I can't come back from, or do I jump off into a voyage of the great unknown that absolutely terrifies and scares the shit out of me, seeking the answers and or some clarity on some stuff that's causing me extreme amounts of distress. And that's what a vision fast is. It is 96 hours of complete, entire alone time with no food, no cell phones, no distractions, no refrigerator, no sex, no shopping, none of the things that we binge on or otherwise occupy our idle time with, to escape. And so we're there on the land without distraction, in complete and utter silence, left to everything that goes on in here, right? It's terrifying to most of us, and it should be. And going into that psychedelic, that heavily medicine involved psychedelic experience that you're talking about, I'm assuming, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you were also looking for pieces of your depression, your anxiety, your fear, your suicidal ideation to die. You were looking to loose pieces of those things that no longer served, right? These defense mechanisms, these coping mechanisms, these maladapted coping mechanisms, the gaining of the weight, the greasy hair, the not getting up out of bed, the not brushing your teeth. Like that shit has to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we embark on these journeys, as Ryan talked about, either with medicine, right? We call psychedelics medicine, or on this epic journey of self-discovery and self-exploration through 96 plus hours of fasting alone, because it's terrifying. And yet we need to go through the ordeal. Joseph Campbell talks about this in The Hero's Journey. We hear the call.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of us humans refuse the call. But when we answer the call, we have to climb down into the depths of the dragon's cauldron, right? Into this scary, mucky, nasty place in order to find the gems, the jewels, and the mystery and the magic that we're seeking. That makes life meaningful again, lest we either continue to live as lazy, hiding human beings down in the bottom of the room somewhere, surrounded by piss bottles and pizza boxes, staring at a pistol, wondering what it would taste like in our mouth.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to you, bro, for going big and diving deep.
Well, I want to give you a shout out too. Just something in that story. You'll notice that, like, if we were sports announcers, I'm the play-by-play. That's the color commentator. So we're good.
Yeah. And I'm the guy that.
So
I'm
Tommy,
the guy that, sorry, I was gonna say I'm the guy that's calling in, and you guys have the terminate button on standby. You're like, if he brings up the treadmill, hit it, turn it off.
You're good. You're good. So I want to capture something in your story, and that you express some like shame around, and I want to alchemize and turn that around. Thank you for surrendering, and thank you for going home. Thank you for giving your parents that purpose and know their value in your life, and that our whole journey is about coming home to here, and coming home into community. And there's this line right here. It's actually in the Hero's Thousand Faces. It's like, we do this thing for the renewing of ourselves and the renewing of the earth and the renewing of community. And we have gifts to share, and you're sharing them. And that's our message to veterans in the community is: you are needed. You've been to the extremities of the human condition. There is a way that you can come into yourself that is a rite of passage, that is your birthright, as particularly as someone who's been initiated again and again and again, military service and in life, and this is a human ceremony, to be into that place before even you go to the VA for services. That we're not new age, we're ancient,
I'm feeling a bubbling. Not in the guts, bro.
Yeah.
And you have to keep bringing that story about almost shatting yourself all over the deal. Because I mean, again, we talk like that too. That is the wholeness of the human experience. You know what I mean? Something that's coming up for me in this moment, as we're talking about suicidal ideation and the act of suicide, the loss and the despair that individuals, including myself, it sounds like you, Tommy, I know Ryan's been there. A lot of the people that we work with go through is like, from our account as veterans, and this is directly applicable to the civilian world as well, right? When we enter basic training or boot camp to become a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guard individual, we're coming on board at 17 to 21 years of age. The frontal lobe of the brain's not totally developed. The roots of identity are just beginning to form. And the Department of Defense has crafted a really beautiful model on how to remove those individual roots of identity and insert the necessary mechanisms, right? And ways of being such that we can function well within the confines of our unit, our duty station, and within the roles and responsibilities of our specific jobs, right? The way that we live in Western society does the same thing. We grow up, whether it's, regardless of the household that we grow up in, it's about, you got to do well in school, you got to go to college, you got to get some kind of trade education, and then you move on to employment. And you're employed for what, right? To make money, to support a household, but and that's the deal, right? And generationally, and I'm not talking about your family specific, but I am talking about something that that is true for many of us, and that is that we're not taught to talk about how we feel about things. We're not taught to to properly resolve conflicts. We're not taught how to, move through life in a way that is harmonious with individuals whom we have disagreements with, right? So where I'm going with this is coming back around to the Department of Defense and creating and cultivating a warrior culture. We go into the service, those roots of identity are removed, the new pieces and components are inserted, and then through years of on-the-job training and different tradecraft that we go through in relation to our specific jobs, warriors are built. And it doesn't matter if it's a warrior pushing a pen or putting staples in a piece of paper or a warrior kicking down a door with a rifle, right? We all know what the ultimate reason is that we joined and how things could go if the moment ever came that we needed to take up arms. We're all combatants. So we're initiated and indoctrinated into the largest warrior culture on the planet. The problem is that within that context, in that framework, and in that world, Ryan and I know exactly who we are. We know what our purpose is, and we know through the different things that we've experienced what gifts we have to share as leaders within that world. When we exit service, there is no initiatory process to return us and or to give back those pieces of ourselves that were taken away from us at 17 to 21 years of age. So when we exit service, regardless of whether we're an officer, served 2 years, 4 years, 25 years, if we were enlisted, stapling papers, going to combat, not going to combat, we don't know who the we are. We have forgotten and or lost sight of our purpose on the planet, and we don't know what gifts we have to share with other people. That equals hopelessness, despair, depression, suicidal ideation, drug addiction, and ultimately removing ourselves from the planet because there's no way to remember. So just while I'm on this rant, and I'll bring it to a close, we as a society, we as a species on the planet, when we were tens of thousands of years ago, across continents, running around barefoot in the woods, chasing animals from season to season, moving through different pastures, we had a connectivity with the outside world, whether we call that God, Buddha, Allah. It doesn't matter. Whether we call it the magic unicorn fairy dust that binds the fabric of the universe together, we had a connectivity with the living world around us, right? That equaled wholeness. And we have lost that. And that, to me, the idea of not having a sense of purpose and belonging, of not having a sense of real community and how to be in community with other people, and not knowing what our specific gifts are is a trifecta of a combination that leads to death. And we need these rites of passage. We need this return to ceremony and ritual in order to awaken the things that are deeply buried within the marrow of our bones and our DNA, like that massive psychedelic experience that you had. I know that that was a massive awakening. We could do 25 podcasts on that shit and still not cover it all, right? But that's the ceremony that Ryan and I are up to. That's the ceremony of veteran rights that so many other people who are not sitting on this call are up to, is taking that step to get barefoot and naked on the earth, to reclaim who we are, and to reconnect with that sense of connectivity with this massive living world around us. And I'll put that mic down.
Yeah, that's Mark. Nice to meet him. There's only one. And so briefly, and to follow up on that, there's a couple of things in there. This wholeness thing, right? This was revolutionary for me as a veteran. Look, I was from the shadows of like Las Vegas Strip, right? This nature thing was completely new to me. I've gone from neon to nature, and it required an initiation, some beautiful teachings around wholeness, and that we're not broke, we're not something to be fixed. We just need to nourish and bring into balance those, and in our harmony, those aspects of ourselves that we've suppressed, usually by no fault of our own, right? That teaching around wholeness. And I think what Mark is getting to as well is that, look, this world is burning down, right? In lots of different kinds of ways, right? The spiral, that's all happening. We talk gently like, well, let's just lay it down gently. And let's lay it down one circle at a time the right way. Is that because you have uninitiated kids running all of the systems of the world that are not connected with their true self, not connected with their vulnerability, and haven't come home to one of our greatest teachers of all, the thing that holds it, all the magic fairy dust, this nature thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Stephen Foster and Meredith Little, they started experimenting with and bringing this back and with others. And then our mentor, Larry Hobbs, and then getting it on board with John Query and Veteran Rights and
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Harris and so many of the others. Coming back to being fully initiated and human, and then just one day at a time, stepping into vulnerability and wholeness from that place.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can create the systems.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is happening right here on this call? Your journey is a big part of it. Your journey is part of our journey in this great unfolding of truth and authenticity, and then, dare I say, compassion, love, God, tenderness, and humility.
Yeah.
There's so everything we're saying is beautiful and nice, but I always try to remind myself of like people who are in the depths right now
Yeah.
are listening to this and they're like, yeah, that's all well and good. What the f do I do? So
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can only speak from my experience, and one of the things I kind of saw I mean, I don't even know what that wasn't even a psychedelic trip. I don't even know what that was. I barely held on to earth. But another thing I remember was that it was this realization that it's not that we can't escape death, it's that I get to die. And that sounds kind of depressive and nihilistic, but it's the exact opposite. Like every day, the first thing I do when I wake up is I make my bed. And I know no matter how maybe the day is awesome, maybe I'm killing it at the gym, flirting with a hot chick, do some great podcasts, get a ton of subscribers, just everything's just hitting it, and that's great. Or the day can be just awful, just terrible. But I always know, and then behind me, that's my gaming video. That's my gaming chair. You can't see it, but that's the gaming TV. I know that no matter how just shit the day is, at the very end of it, I can put on a big baggy sweatshirt, big baggy sweatpants, sit in my gaming chair. I don't even have to talk to anybody. I don't have to play with friends. I can just turn something on mindless, fly a fighter jet around. Doesn't matter. And then I can go get in bed, blinds closed, big comforter, turn on the bedside fan, and go to sleep. And no matter how the day is, I always know that I can just go lay down, relax your knees and your shoulders, put on an audiobook and just drift off. And, even when, if you're like, driving to go visit friends or something in college, and it's a 12-hour drive and everyone's pissed at each other, and, you blew a tire and you forgot your this and that and the other thing. And then when you finally get to, like, I went to the University of Georgia, when you finally get to Panama City, all of a sudden, like, all the aggression stops, and you step out, you can like hear the ocean, and you're like we're so tired, like I just failed my exam, but it's like you just crack a beer and you're like, oh, we're here. Like, everyone's noticed that at the end of a long, like, just brutal trip, how quickly the vibe can change when you get to the hotel room, and it's like, oh, we're here. And you have a drink, you're like, hey, dude, sorry for getting angry at you. You're like, dude, it's fine. I was pissed too, and you're just. And it's like instantly the whole vibe, you're all screaming at each other, and then you finally get to the hotel, you lay down, you pour a drink, and you're like, oh, let's order some food. The reason I'm saying all that is you get to die. When it's all over, you get to die. So why rush it with suicide? Because you get to die. You might say, well, the reason I'm rushing is because I'm in so much pain. I want to go to sleep now. I want to get in the made bed now. I get it. I've been there. There's a liberation. Like, you can go do anything now. When you're 70 pounds overweight, addicted to benzos, and living above your parents' garage, and your girlfriend leaves you and all your friends stop talking to you, and you have no social life for 5 years, you no longer give a shit what people think of you. You might, I don't know, start a podcast and just talk to whoever you want. You don't care anymore because the alternative is death, and it is completely liberating. So you might say, I want to go to bed now. Hey, you're going to die anyway. Why not just wing it? Why not just, you're already going to fail the test. Might as well circle in all the bubbles and just bullshit your way and see if you can pass. So, like, yeah, I'm going to die. No one likes me. Maybe I want to take up landscaping. Why not? The alternative is I'm going to shoot myself. Okay, let's go. And it's completely liberating. And even if the landscaping doesn't work, hey, guess what? You still get to die one day. That's how I look at it. So despite everything we're saying about all the beautiful journeys and everything, that's what I mean. It's to the person who's just desperate. Like, yeah, shoot your shot, dude. Go try to get the hot girl's number. It's 1:58. The bar closes in 2 minutes. What do you have to lose? You're gonna go home and jerk off anyway. Go ask her. She might be taken aback by your confidence. Go for it. So like that's kind of my logic is the desperation is completely liberating. So don't take your life. Like go wing it. Just go wing it.
Tommy, I appreciate that, but something's coming up for me right now, bro. I'm gonna be like real with you. Okay. Um, we work day in and day out to bring very sick and sad and desperate people that are sick and tired of being sick and tired that have been through hell. Right. So it is, we have our mentor, Larry, says, trust the ceremony, right? And it comes when it comes. When you're ready to unhatch, you're ready to unhatch. But you said something within your story there as well, is that you had to serve. You're serving through this podcast. So there was that death and rebirth and that you have to die. We actually, when people go out, we say, hey, today's a good day to die. You have to die to be reborn. And that is just part of the process. And so I think what was coming up for me there is like, there's a lot of like, as a veteran with PTSD, anxiety, who's been addicted, who's very much an alcoholic, who's all the other kind of things, when someone says like has an opinion or rationalization, because you know when your physiology cannot access the resources to respond to that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So the best you can do is be an example, to lend space, to give the gift of presence, not advise, not counsel, not be holier than thou, but to say, hey, and really just stop and open your heart and listen. And you had mentioned in your story as well that once you got to the beach, I was like, yay, nature. Once you got to the beach and the ocean, like, and for many of us that were prescribed like a cocktail of medications before we even had the chance to figure out who we were and all these other kind of things and know who we were without those things, that I could take nature as a prescription. Like, how would this conversation have been today had we said, look, let's all go take a walk in nature for an hour with an intention and then come back? How much like slower and grounded and all that kind of stuff. And it is what it is and it's perfect. So that's what we practice too. The ceremony, the death and rebirth, but we also just practice how to be in counsel, how to really deeply listen in a world where everyone knows the answers, how we can create spaces that hold the polarity without becoming polarized, and to be a little, we heal with men and women, non-binary, whatever you identify with, all of humans, and that coming home in nature as nature. Most people agree with nature, right? If we could like spiral into that place and then come out, then we can really feel who we are as witnesses to each other's journey. And that's it. So thank you, man. I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah. Tommy, you asked a question about like why, you were talking about if you had reached a place where you found understanding and a place of actual like acceptance with the reality of we get to die, right? And and it sounded like you were also presenting it in a way of like why commit suicide, right? Why commit suicide when we know we're going to die? And so knowing that we're going to die and knowing that we're going to get to die means that we actually can write whatever narrative or script we want. We can go out and dance, we can try on a dress, we can like what, and I'm making, like whatever it is that we want to do, right? And I guess I would ask the question to you of when you were in the depths of your despair and depression and eating and letting your hair grow out and not brushing your teeth, pre-massive, psychedelic load and calling for help for your parents. I mean, did you know that you could go out and engage in landscaping? Were you in a place where you were going to go up to the hottie with your greasy hair and your nasty mouth and be like, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee?
Heaven's Harvest prepper food, 72 servings per pail, 25 years shelf life. I've had the owner Clayton on the show before. He's a God-fearing, America-loving patriot. Get one of these, get a couple of them, throw them in your basement. It's good to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. If you don't want to do that, you can get their seeds. You can plant your own garden, so you don't even have to keep buying them. You can just get the goods and start your own, or you can even get freeze-dried fruits and vegetables like bananas, apples, strawberries, and raspberries. They support the show. It's an honest product. It's a good safety measure to have, and they keep my show free for you. So I'd implore you guys to please go to heavensharvest.com, use the link in the description, promo code TPC. Axios Fitness Coaching is a premium resource for holistic strength and conditioning services. Axios is best known for the Training Club, capital T, capital C, an exclusive community that prioritizes accountability, technique, diet, and nutrition. Everything you need to do to take action against the decay of the modern world. Whether you're looking to improve your physique, build strength, or just take care of your health and fitness, Axios will provide you with a solution that is effective and simple to execute. All you need to do is complete the intake survey, and you can see if you're a good candidate for the training club or any other of the services. And it's going to sponsor the show. So, one company falls off, another one arises. So if you guys like the show, you want to work out, throw the show a couple shekels. Go take the survey. Thank you so much, guys.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a Blue Room soon. www.blueroom.com.
No, in there the you're in such a your blinders are on so tight. You're not even thinking about what do I care? Why don't I get I mean, you're like, what time is it? It's 4 p.m. Okay. If I go get food, I can eat and then my belly will be full and maybe I can go back to bed even though I've been awake for like there's no
Yeah.
like there's a book I remember reading. I don't remember what it was about, but it's like you're looking at a dog and you're going, oh, a dog's life. It just lays around in the sun all day. If I could only be a dog. And then it describes you becoming a dog. But as you become the dog, your brain becomes less complex and you have less grasp of reality around you. When you become the dog, you're not appreciating being the dog. You have all these fears of where's my owner? Who's walking by? I'm scared. I'm hungry. And they go, and the dog goes, oh, to only be an insect. And it goes down, and as it becomes but it doesn't have the brain to appreciate that it's an insect. So like we're talking now about something where like the actual brain I would argue is like an mRNA would show that the activity is probably greatly reduced. You're not going, there's no rational of like, well, I was smart enough to get into medical school. I want to die anyway. I might as well. No, I mean, you're going, I was smart enough to get into medical school. I'm smart enough to get this guy to give me weed for less money. Like that's you are an animal responding to scent, water, food, eat, kill, run, fight.
Yep.
There's no, I don't, so it makes no sense then how did that turn? I don't know. Maybe you got to go to the absolute oblivion before it just opens up. And maybe there's a moment of adrenaline of going, oh, I'm no longer looking for pills. Now I'm talking about death. Maybe there's a moment that opens your mind to go. But even then, I had that in the psychedelic moment. But even then, when I called my mom, because we had been flirting, they had been trying to get me to come home. I don't want to come home. And there's just a moment of, it wasn't even like I'm going to go home and rebuild my life. Like the mind had become even smaller, and it was, and not to like disrespect the severity of that moment, but what I imagine it would be like for rational, educated men and women to jump to their deaths from the World Trade Center. The vision, and when you can't understand that, go open an oven and put your hand in for a second. It's not that you go, ow, it's just reflexive. Somebody touches you on the shoulder and you jump. You're not thinking, should I jump? You just jump, right? Go near a fire. You get too close. You have become the smallest point of consciousness. So how can someone with a family and a well-paying job look down 1,000 feet below at pavement and go, this is the choice? They're not thinking. And I obviously I can't speak for them, but you're just at that point it's impulse. And that's kind of where it was for me is I probably called home because it was easier than suicide. It's probably because I didn't have a gun nearby. It was just like I could get a gun, but my phone's right here. It was just the easiest thing. So I was just, I need to come home, I'm suicidal. And I knew once I did that, I'd shot the flare, it was over. There was no, at that point, my parents would have kicked in the door and taken me, even though I was a grown man and it was illegal. They would have kidnapped me. And so, you know, that's kind of a shitty conclusion, because what if you don't have that person to reach out to? If you don't have parents that can bring you home, I mean, in that moment, just shoot a text to a friend. Don't even just say, I'm gonna kill myself. It doesn't matter who it is. I guarantee you that friend will drop whatever they're doing. Even if you say I'm depressed, you know, I'll get back to you tonight. If you get a text from someone that says I'm gonna kill myself, I guarantee you that person will drop anything and go, where are you? You're 9 states away. I'm gonna call 911. I'm coming to get you tomorrow. You can come stay with me. We'll tackle next week when it gets here. We'll tackle next month when it gets here. When I did that to move home, I remember when I moved home, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, my parents, you know, they're saying that I have to stay for at least 2 weeks, or they have to say I have to stay for 3 weeks. And like, I don't think I want to do more than 2 weeks. I stayed there for 200, what's 52 times 5? 252. I stayed there for 260 weeks. Lost the girlfriend, lost the friend. Not even, I moved home when Obama was president and left when Biden was president. Like that whole thing is, but I didn't plan on that. It was just go home. And then it was a reverse. It was the insect becoming the dog, becoming the human. I slowly, I mean, through years, I mean, almost like Oedipus or Odysseus or whoever went on the journey, like years of rebuilding, trying writing, trying video editing, trying comedy, trying graphic design, just gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, just year therapy, getting close, just it up, almost moving out, it up, just so close. And then finally just started the podcast, and it was just, I'd been pushing the weight just far enough that I finally got it over the top of the hill, and it just started rolling a little bit. And then I started to go, well, you know, if I'm going to do a podcast, well, I got to be talking to people. I can't be tired. So I got to get good sleep. Well, I get good sleep. Well, I kind of get anxious when I drink coffee, but I really want coffee. I remember from college that if I lift weights first, I don't get anxious. All right, might as well start lifting weights. You start doing it more and more, and you're like, well, I can't have this guy on sound like an idiot. I probably got to read up about him. I got to start studying. I can't play video games right now. I got to read this book. And then you do a couple hundred episodes. You're like, I'm on camera every day. Maybe I should lose some weight because I got this chipmunk looking face. Oh, I should probably have a haircut. I should probably brush my teeth. I should probably put on clean clothes because you can tell if it's wrinkled or if it's clean. And it just spirals and spirals and spirals. And I started the podcast on December 12th, 2019. We're in the 39th month, 1,122nd episode. And it's still spiral to, it's like I should probably save money. I should probably start looking into like insurance. I should probably find out a better way to budget. I should probably learn about this. I should probably learn like the tax code. Maybe I should start going to a gym outside instead of the one in my building. Maybe you start meeting girls. That makes you feel better. You might shit on the treadmill. All right, we hit a speed bump, bring it back. And you keep going and developing and developing. So a very long-winded answer to your question. No, there was no rational thought in that moment. It came down to, do I want to burn alive or do I want to jump? And my phone was jumping. So I called my mom and said, I have to come home. Instantly regretted it. I was like, I have to go home now. But it's led to this moment. Sorry, I know I just rambled for like 10 minutes.
Well, that was a beautiful
No,
telling.
great.
Yeah, it was beautiful because actually the way you were talking about this the mind just circling again, and moving the milepost of success and victory.
Mhm.
And what we say out there on the land is like, it's where you turn from a human doing into a human being. Who is Tommy without the podcast? Who is Tommy out, alone with no one looking and looking at you and validating and all this, right? That's the tough shit.
Mm,
And that's what we really sit with out there, right? And it's so important for our community because as we define ourselves by our achievements, what we're doing, all this other kind of stuff, of just to be like, I love myself for who I am.
yes.
When I hear a veteran, who like has all the plans to change the world and start a nonprofit and all this or that, and after 4 days he comes back with like, I just want to be a loving father. Because isn't that enough? And
Yes.
that's the long game
Mhm.
that we're talking about. And as a mirror to just what you presented there, man, boy, is that the veteran's journey. I mean, just again, keep trying these things on, going and going and going. And even when you get initiated, we have people 3 or 4 years down the road are like, I mean, they kind of like, you don't hear from them for a year and they're like, whoa, I had no idea that like what I did and like what you did that time with that psilocybin that went into the dark night and that transformational journey, that years and years it will develop because the living is not in the knowing,
Mhm.
right? It's in the doing and in the mystery. So it's beautiful, man.
Mhm.
Yeah. What's your brother's name? I'm sorry.
My older brother's name was John.
Thank you.
John.
Yeah.
Just feels like,
Yeah. No,
thank you.
yeah. I was gonna say, and that's kind of another thing is, yeah, right when you start, like right when I moved home, I was like, I'm gonna start charities, I'm gonna fix mental health, and then the next day you're like, maybe let's put on clean socks. And like
Yeah.
even now, Ram Dass, who I'm sure you guys have heard of.
Love him.
I loved his thing. He's I in his voice, he's like, I was a chair of 4 departments at Harvard. I had a Mercedes Benz and a Cessna, and I was skinny dipping with models in the Bahamas in an apartment in a penthouse. But every once in a while I'd be alone at night in the bathtub with no one's eyes to look into to tell me how great I was. And I've been meditating every day since 2008. And when the podcast is over and there's no one like, sick show, dude, or you're looking at views and subscribers and getting your little dopamine hits, it's just you. And I can say for really probably only in the last 6 months, for the first time since 2014 when I lost my brother, I can actually, in the silence, just be like, I like you, Tommy. You're a cool dude. It's just you and me. The podcast, everything else. You're a cool dude. And just to me, that is like, hell yeah. And then you do the podcast, and we're living in this world, and of course we're learning all the lessons in the podcast and the whatever but when you get really silent, and it's scary. I've meditated thousands of times. It's still scary to turn off the phone and go, you can't look at memes. Can't look at the hot girl. Oh, she's sending you pictures of her ass. No. Where am I? What am I? I'm just here. Okay. This is cool. Okay. And that's the key of it all, is not to build the nonprofit that changes the world. You come back and you go, I want to be a good dad. You just go, you know what? I'm a good sibling. And yeah, I call my friend. I know I'm a good brother. And you go, that's cool enough. And then if you want to build on top of it, you can build on top of it. But it's very cool to go. I keep my apartment clean. I'm proud of that. And just move forward from there. And yeah, that is and then you never actually, when you're depressed, you always feel like there's going to be this moment when you cure it. And I'm almost 40 months into the podcast, and there's never been a moment of like, I made it. You're still just in this constant,
Good.
like, you're still just in this constant, like,
You're human.
gotta keep working, gotta
Awesome.
keep working.
Yeah.
And a year from now, I know I'll be looking at, if I could see me a year from now, I'd be like, that guy's such a boss. And if I could go talk to that guy, he'd be in his mind going, make it better, more efficient, cleaner, faster, stronger. And it's an endless journey to infinity, to just keep going. So then what's the purpose of all of it? Ultimately, the purpose is to take your shit experience and make sure someone else has a life raft. That's if anyone wants to take one sentence away from the whole podcast, is to take your horse shit. You're an explorer, you went and saw everything, and half your shipmates got like raped to death by Indians or something. Hey, at least go back to like Britain and be like, hey, there's a new continent over there. It's kind of cool. Take your journey from hell and come back, and if you see someone else hurting, be like, yo, you don't, I can, spoiler alert, I can tell you it's just shit. You come with me. Let's not go down the trail of shit. Sorry, I know I keep talking. Mark, we haven't heard from you in a while. Say something. Thank you, Mark.
Yep. Oh, yeah. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
I really like how you presented, and I'll comment on it because you asked the question a while back, what can our listeners, what can the listeners or the people who are sitting alone in the dark, in those depths of despairs do, right? And we've talked about it here today. We've talked about you've talked about, Tommy, like you were in that place, and for you it was a massive dose of multiple psychedelic substances. For us, we're talking about stepping out on the land and doing something wild and crazy that's been in existence for tens of thousands of years that humans have forgotten about. And so if we're feeling desperate, if we're feeling alone, if we're feeling in a place of suicidal ideation and depression, and we're walking the razor's edge between one more day and another, and we're listening to this podcast and or sharing this podcast with other people, is to get up and do something bold, whatever it is. That's nonviolent.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not talking about engaging in like
Sure.
all that stuff. I don't need to talk about it. I'm talking about do something that is completely outlandish. Take a bunch of psychedelics, research on the internet some shit in South America and go see a shaman running around barefoot serving ayahuasca, or research, outside the box, non-traditional forms of harm reduction and suicidal ideation, and go do that thing. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that's speaking to you, like take that last ounce of energy that we've got left and squeeze the out of it until a drop forms, and let that drop hit the ground, and then go do that thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I can really relate to your story in a lot of ways. Like veteran rights wasn't born overnight. I was sitting in a hotel room in Sacramento, California, in front of a pile of methamphetamines with a big old needle, and I was wondering, if I push this hot dose, how quickly am I going to die, and am I going to experience some kind of euphoric rush before that happens?
Yeah.
And then it was this little voice inside, that was reminiscent of something that I experienced in basic training that was like, come on, private, you can do it, baby, rock steady, which I would imagine in some ways was something like your heavy psychedelic experience. There was something in that incoherent experience that said, Tommy, yes, death is going to happen. It's okay. We get to do it, just not right now. And so after that experience, you called the phone, you picked up the phone, which was closer than the gun, and you called your mom. And begrudgingly, nobody wants to step off on a vision fast and spend 96 hours alone in the wilderness, not eating, with minimal shelter. Are you crazy? Nobody wants to sit down in front of a pile of mushrooms that's 30 grams in size. Like, thinking about the shit flavor in my mouth from 30 grams of mushrooms, like, come on, bro. Right? And that's a bold step. It's squeezing the last drop out of life and saying, I'm doing this thing come hell or high water because I don't have any choice left. And so when I hear that, and I got back up off the couch and I got engaged, I started working with a therapist, as you talked about. And just like your story, that therapist was like, yo, man, I know you want to save the world. I know you want veterans to stop killing themselves. I know you want to make a difference in this world. And why don't you just get up this morning, make your bed, brush your teeth, and then sit down and think about what the rest of the day looks like. And the beauty of what you're sharing is, and it's really, I hope that a lot of veterans and a lot of people hear this, there's no magic pill. That massive psychedelic experience, that Vision Quest ceremony, the things that we get involved in, they're not going to be the be all, do all, end all. This thing that we're in this body is a grind. And it literally just involves putting one foot in front of the other. That weird fat dude that we always put money on his belly in the Chinese restaurant, said it years ago when he went on this lifelong journey to figure out, how to end suffering, only to find that life is suffering. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, Ram Dass's approach on suffering is like, so, Buddha came back to his buddies and said, all right, well, number one, life is suffering. He goes, now that's a big one to swallow. What do you mean it's suffering? Yeah, no. Whole thing's, but Buddha, no. It's just shit up and down forever. But that's surrender. You go, oh, what? When does the movie end? The movie goes forever. Oh, okay. And to kind of pivot is like another thing I did is starting the day I started the podcast, and I've pulled it up on here so many times before, December 12th, 2019. I started an Excel sheet on my phone, and it literally just started with TPC episodes, and so 12, 12, 19, I've done one episode. By 12, 16, 19, I'd done 3 episodes. And then I started at, well, I got banned from YouTube, so I had to get rid of that column. But then there's just other stuff like BitChute subscribers, Rumble subscribers, Spotify plays. And the columns just, they start to just, run together. They start to just, hold on, where is it? Come on, making me look like an idiot phone. Yeah, they just start to, everyone,
Boom.
every
Yep.
line, that's a 24-hour period. Every single one. How many lines are we on now? 1,074 lines every day. And every once in a while, there's a cool bump. But instead, every day you just go, it's not growing. It's not doing. None of this is happening. Because right now, this talk we're having, it's very inspirational. It's motivational. But like that quote says, motivation's like hygiene. It only lasts for a little while. So you have to come down to the concrete and go, okay, my New Year's resolution was to work out, but now I'm on day 4 and I'm kind of tired and I don't look like Schwarzenegger yet. So you have to have something that's very concrete and like, what can I do? And so what I would tell people is to start an Excel sheet and just make a metric of anything. Put $1 in a jar every day. Do your laundry. Do 1 push-up and just track it. And just track it and track it and track it. And when you look at it, you can see it adding up and adding up. And then the key is when you start to see things go exponential. It took me 6 months to break 1,000 views on Spotify. It took me 18 months to get to 10,000. And then it took a year to get to 100,000. And then it took 6 months to get to 200,000. You go, holy, it's growing. And it's growing fast. But you can't see it. You're in the moment. It's so small. You're laying 1 line of bricks a day. You're not seeing the Empire State Building, where that's limestone, technically not bricks off. But it's building and building and building. Do something tangible, just whatever it is. I've made my bed 90 out of the last 100 days. And then that sounds like nothing. And then you go, well, what else could I do? What if I read a page of a book a day? And then a year goes by and you go, I read a book about the Cold War. And you go, yeah, I didn't even have to do it for school. And you just start adding more and more things. And there really is something in that. So when the motivation wears off and you wake up tomorrow and you realize you're still fat and alone, start keeping track. And I promise you, it will start to grow. And it will grow and grow and grow. And then on days when and I still get depressed, I still get sad, podcast isn't working fast enough, it's not working, how come I'm not Joe Rogan yet? And then you look at it and you go, oh, it's grown 10 times in the last year. And you go, all right, I just got to get to next year. And you go, yeah. And it keeps you going. So you can start to actually look in the rearview mirror or you can look down, I don't know, you're climbing a snowy mountain, and you can look down and see your footsteps going all the way down to base camp. Then it starts to propel you forward because you go, I already did all that. Or just keep going and going and going. Sorry, I know I keep talking a lot.
It's on me. I love Ram Dass. I fall asleep to that,
I
to that dude
love
like
Ram
every
Dass
night.
so
And so
much.
look, and the fact of life is this, like some days you're gonna feel like Ram Dass, and other days you're gonna feel like Ram Dass. And that's just the fact, right? And then there's just something here to what you're offering as well. Just this, if you just adjust your sights a little bit, we as veterans know the trajectory of that bullet is gonna like in life, right? So that's a beautiful offering. And then there has to come a time, we're story people, right? So like Larry shares a story about when he was in sobriety and his sponsor said, well, what are you gonna, because he was in like that mind thing, like, what do I do? He says, well, here's your options. You can go down and you can come wash my car, or you can go down the street and wash somebody else's car. And instantly, if you do that thing, you get out of the thing because in our teaching and in life just it is, at some point, get the out of yourself and serve other people. Go volunteer. If you do something, buy some flowers, write a note to your mom, pick up that 10,000 pound. Yeah, you can do something bold, and something bold may just be picking up that big ass phone and saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" At some point, we got to make, like you say, that alchemy of the giveaway to others.
Yeah.
Because that's just the deal.
Yeah.
That's just the deal. And you're doing it. You're doing it with this podcast, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is wild.
I'm trying to tell you.
It was like fully human. It said like God. I think Meister Eckhart said like,
What'd you put in that tea, bro?
yeah, right. I know.
It gave us both. I gave
God
all
is the
of us
human
acid.
being. God is the human being being fully alive. Yeah, we're about suicide prevention. But I was committing slow suicide until I knew that like I was worthy and belonging out in ceremony of having survived my time in service and in life. And we're all just deeply seeking those core things of love, belonging, and knowing that we belong here on earth and we have a right and we have gifts to give. So let's just do a little bit more of that fully human thing, being fully alive. Because I'm not in the, I worked on getting veterans homes. I worked in veteran homelessness for a long time. And we could get them housing, but they'd grab a tent and then they put it on a balcony and go sleep in it. That will to live, to truly come home here, that's what we're about. So when I hear like a veteran with 6 deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq, and he's like, I want to be a pastry chef. Yes,
Hell
like
yeah.
let's nourish that dream,
Yeah.
you know? So I'm just going to bring in Felicia out in ceremony. She had a thing on her hat. It said, follow your arrow. Follow your arrow. And if that's just one little march step at a time, you're doing great, kid. You're doing great.
Yeah. It's Ram Dass. When he describes doing the mushrooms with Timothy Leary, and he goes, I was sitting there on the couch and the rug began to crawl and the pictures began to smile, all of which delighted me. And then off in the distance I saw me with a cap and gown, and it was Professor Richard. And I went, well, he's over there and I'm over here. That can't be me. All right, well, I'll let it go. I still do a lot of other stuff. He goes, and then I saw Lover Richard. And then I saw Scuba Diving Richard and Pilot Richard and Cellist. And I'll let them all go. And then I saw my name. And I went, I don't need to be Richard. I can be anybody. I can be Bob. All right. And then I looked down at my body and I went, I still got my body. And then with great horror, I saw my legs begin to disappear. And I saw my arms begin to disappear. And I went, oh my God. And he goes, and then a lump rose in my throat, but then my throat disappeared. He goes, and as it all went away, I was still there. It was still here. And the thought came to my head of, who's minding the store? And he goes, that's when I knew myself. And it was a knowing deeper than anything I'd ever felt before. And he goes, and I ran home to my parents, like a couple neighborhoods over at 4 a.m. and it was snowing. And I grabbed a shovel and I started snowing the driveway. And my parents looked out the window and my dad goes, come to bed, you idiot. No one shovels snow at 4 a.m. And he goes, the little voice in my head said, it's okay to shovel snow and it's okay to be happy. And I always go back to that. It's okay to shovel snow. And it's just, you come home to the center. It's a quiet, just silent. It's not happy. It's not sad. It's just peace in the center. And I promise you can find it. And it's not even some horse shit of like, follow me on Instagram, follow my motivational. No, I was literally a fat who didn't brush his teeth. To now I've got like my own studio in like in one bedroom, and I have my bed in the other room. And I'm in a cool place downtown, and I've got an 86-inch gaming screen right here where like a little kid, I play video games life size. Like, it is so cool. Everything, I wouldn't trade my life for the world. But it came from like the absolute pits. And like, dude, if I can do it, like you can too. Like anybody can. Like you can do it. Just start. So I don't know.
Everything is an option. Like crying, is kicking, screaming, getting fat, like all these other things. All of it's an option. The only thing that's not an option is quitting. That's it. And it's just part of the journey. Thank you for taking us on this journey, Tommy.
Yeah, appreciate it,
Yeah,
brother.
man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we'll bring it full circle with, so then eventually you have to identify and talk about the elephant in the room. Well, then what about my brother? Or what about your friends? And Ram Dass has one way of saying it. And he goes, if someone's in your 4th grade class and after a week they get bumped up to 5th grade, it's because they're smarter and they're ready for the next thing. So he goes, one option is maybe they'd already completed their evolution in this life and now they're onto something else. I don't really like that one. That's Ram Dass's. That's one of the few things I disagree with him on. I tend to look at it as I probably wouldn't be giving half a about any of this had I not lost a brother. I'm sure if I got an email from you guys, I'd be like, yeah, I should probably do that. That's some good karma. We'll talk about suicide. That'll feel good. And then it'll be in one ear, out the other. Like, share, and subscribe. I have to make sense of it. I don't know why you did it. I don't think I ever can, because if I did, I'd probably be in that logic too, and I would have done it. So it'd be like this whole, it's like nothing can evolve from that, because if you're in the logic of suicide, you'd probably commit suicide, and thus you wouldn't be there to talk about it. So it's a weird, like, what does the back of your eyes look like? You can't know it. The only logic I can make of it is I don't know why it happened, but it happened. So I'm gonna make the most of it and make sure it's not in vain. So, it sucks, if your airbase gets attacked or your White House gets hit by a missile, and it's like, that sucks. But you can bolster defenses and move forward. And that's kind of how I look at it. Is I don't know why it happened. Everything we're talking about, I don't know why I did it. All I can say is it happened, and I'm gonna make the most of it. And that's
So I hear, Tommy, that there's a mystery there.
yeah.
And my ass, despite of myself, I'm still here today and I get to live this life. And I just want to give a shout out to creator, that magic fire dust, God, whatever you want to source, and that like there's limitations to our knowing.
Yeah.
And that like there's something greater happening here and that's pulled us together, right? And so like I find a lot of solace in that, of like that really just like it's just about surrender, man. Ultimately. That both and surrender and aligning my will so I live my life so that I can die with dignity
Yeah.
and in service to others.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I know. And I don't know shit. And a little bit.
Me neither.
Yeah, I also really appreciated you walking through that process and arriving at the conclusion that of I don't know, and that whether or not that's enough in this moment or the next is irrelevant. Some days I don't know is just fine, and other days we're going to be clamoring for answers. And I can't speak to losing someone from my biological family to suicide. I can talk from a place of losing 13 of my close personal friends and brothers and sisters who I've served with over a decade to suicide. And I remember talking with a good friend of mine about the despair that I was feeling in relation to that loss, and the guilt in some ways that I was feeling in relation to still being here when they weren't. And asking that person, what's the best way that I can move through this dilemma, this darkness of being surrounded by people or the death of people close to me at their own hand. And he said to me, he said, Mark, what I've found is the best way to honor the dead is to live all the way, by making mistakes, by making wise decisions, by making shitty decisions, to live, you know? And it kind of goes back to that thing that we've all been talking about here, which is like getting up in the morning and just making a bed, just brushing a tooth, just one of them,
Just one of them.
just one of them. Because as you know, so eloquently put it out there, you know, we start adding and tallying those things up, whether it's an Excel sheet or scratching numbers on a piece of paper, it adds up, it multiplies. So we got to live in order to honor the dead. And we don't know why they've gone, and we'll never know. And that's got to be enough.
And to live, we got to practice dying,
Yes.
like you said. Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's okay to go. I don't know. Like, there's something deeply funny to me about like,
Cosmic giggle. That's Ram Dass.
Mhm.
Well, yeah,
Cosmic giggle.
yeah. No, there's
Yeah.
like, and I've said this before. Like, and it's easy to say this once you've gotten out of the shit. Like I said, once you're at that kind of telescoped, conscious vision of like, I just want to go to bed and die. Like, you're not going to be there. But like, as you move forward and as you have more leeway to breathe, and when I get depressed now, I'm not worried about it. I'm like, this sucks. It's going to pass when you keep going. There's just something, maybe this is just the shithead in me, but there's something deeply funny to me about continuing to go when everything is so dark. Like, there's something deeply funny to me, like, about trying my hardest and still waking up and working out and dieting. And it's like, as we're tiptoeing towards World War III and we're coming out of like a bioweapon over the earth, and like it's clear that like, you know, like Jeffrey Epstein's like black book list never came out. And it's like, well, all right, the pedophile billionaires are running. Like, there's something deeply funny to me about being like Satan's literally on the throne, like whipping the Earth's population. It's like, that may be so, but bro, I gotta make this bed. Like, to me, there is something so funny about like, it's all, yeah, you're seeing the A-bomb come to you, and you're just like, you know, like sweeping off the keyboard. You're like, well, I don't want this to be messy. Like, it makes
I'm
no
going to be
sense.
just dumb for a minute. This is going to be stupid. Are we tiptoeing towards nuclear
We're
holocaust?
sprinting. We're
Are
sprinting.
we tiptoeing, or are we full tilt boogie into it?
That's
bro?
what I mean. And it's like,
And does it really matter?
no,
Because I got a dog that needs to take a shit in the backyard right now, and
what
then
I'm
I need to go
talking
clean
about.
up that shit so I don't step in it later. Because like,
that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. It's like they just gave another $800 billion to the Pentagon, and we're going to keep like raping and pillaging the earth. I'm like, that may be so. However, I've got podcasts today, and I got to go get
Yes.
groceries.
yes,
I got a
I
bed
got
to
shit
make.
to do. Like, Klaus Schwab,
Yes.
I know you want to turn us all into bug eating like eunuchs, and I see you and I deal with you when I can. But like, dog, my glasses are smudgy and I need to clean them off because
That's
I
it.
can't see the video game screen clearly. I'll deal with
True
you when I
story.
can, but we got to triage right now. Got to charge
Yes.
my phone. Don't fire the
Yes.
nukes, Putin. I got to charge my phone. All right. You know, it's just like, I can't deal with this right now. I got other shit to do. Like, that's funny. Like, that's deeply funny to me.
It's relieving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like we have all this pressure on like building this perfect life and creating this perfect humanity, this or that. So like when I heard in Israel that like they're actually really freaking joyful because like it's war every day. So they really like live their life like it's their life song.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna love. I'm gonna take care of what's most meaningful. That's the jam right there. So they're it's funny that right, like what you're saying, that
It is
cosmic giggle.
funny.
There's relief in that part of that cycle of death and destruction. That's part of the wholeness of this whole humanity thing, and we're in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we get to do it. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And I got a choice because I've been in this, and it's funny that you bring up this nuclear thing, right? And the whole way trajectory of humanity, because I wear that shit like Atlas from time to time, and I'm crushed under it, and I'm
Oh, yeah.
paralyzed by it, and like, what am I gonna? Oh, and I need to prep and do this and that and the other thing, and like, yeah, dude, I went on a journey of my own not too long ago, and a series of journeys to kind of navigate that, and I'm talking about psychedelic journeys. And the message that I received every single week from that experience was, yo, you're gonna die. And there's not actually a lot of time left. Like it was very clear, and it wasn't talking about my time. It was talking about our collective time. There's not a lot of time left.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Like like I wish this was happening in 2016 when I was suicidal, because I would love to be able to look back at the irony of being like suicidal and also like doom scrolling about World War III. It's like, well, bro, I thought you were ready to go. Well, I don't want them to fire the nuclear missiles. You know?
Why not?
Why not? Nut up. Like, you know.
Then you don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a flash.
I didn't want to do it. And it's like, well, it's here now, brother. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. And it's like, yeah, it's like just this is probably gonna be like horribly racist, but just imagine like a Japanese guy looking up at the
Yeah.
Just stop. We're gonna help you out.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You're good.
Anyway, so like the idea is like you're in Hiroshima and you're looking at the A bomb and you're just kind of like still like doing your little sand garden and just looking up on it and being like, you know, and then still just focusing and making.
Yes.
That's it.
Who the cares?
Because what else are you gonna do?
What else are you gonna do? Like,
why? It kind of comes back around to like carrying shit that's not ours. Right. I personally have no power, control, or influence on whether or not somebody pushes a button that launches a hypersonic missile. I don't.
What?
So let me go back to making circles in the sand.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, yeah. We've been doing this for eternity. We've been doing this forever. We'll do it again. I'm sure we've had this discussion before in a past life. We'll have it more again in the future. And I'm sure there's one of those alternate universes where I actually did shit on the treadmill. But you know what?
Hopefully.
I mean, that would be great. But yeah, I don't know.
You know Ram Dass's foundation, right? It's love, serve, remember, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about like what we can do and what's different,
still have his
is hold spaces, is holds. There you go, right? So we have an opportunity here right now to say stop and hold space and open up our hearts and whatever that magic fabric is to go. We remember those, our brothers and sisters that never came home and those that never fully landed. Remember their families, remember their suffering. And we live well for them. We get to do that too. And that meant what may be a little different. Love, serve, remember. That's beautiful. Thanks for bringing Rami in.
Hell yeah. Ram Dass died like 3 days before I started my podcast. And I'm just like, you dickhead. I wanted you on here so bad. And apparently he was really open to Skype calls. But part of me thinks of Ram Dass just laughing. And like, yeah, I did that on purpose. I dropped the body. Where would I go? I dropped the body. So, gentlemen, I said we wrap this one up. I feel like we're coming down to a natural landing point. I say this as just a flash and it ends. Final episode, yeah. But
hey, I got it. So can we end with a poem?
Yeah.
We're poem people, and I got one from a veteran.
Go for it.
And she wrote it about just like what we're talking about when we're like in the shit, right? She wrote this after coming out on the land. It's called, my name's Sally Mary. My bleeding black rose stems from my beloved demon, a tragic romance of a mere dream. I refuse to die, but I continue to bleed. Slavish devotions to my affliction. Am I the enemy whom I love? Every day I fight a battle with wounds you cannot see. I want to leave this war so I can find my life's journey. For now, I inch away, patiently learning to forgive myself. My bleeding black rose, romancing a recurrent dream, that is really a nightmare. I refuse to die, but I continue to bleed. Slavish devotions to my afflictions, am I the enemy whom I love? Every day I fight a battle with wounds you cannot see. I want to leave this war so I can find my life's journey. For now, I inch away, patiently learning to forgive myself.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Appreciate you, mate.
Ryan, Mark, I love you guys.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for this.
Love
talk.
you too, man.
Love to have you guys on again. We
have focused discussion. We go all the rabbit holes.
Yeah, no, focused discussion sucks.
I know. We're good. Just open up the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we
just go
psychedelics all day.
Oh yeah.
Dude, focused discussion sucks. We're gonna hit these bullet points. I'm like, yeah, I can't I just would, if you guys were like, I have these bullet points, I just would have lied and be like, I shit on the treadmill. I can't do it today. I would just be like, fuck
That's
that.
so good.
No, yeah, no.
I'll be
fuck
clear,
that.
Veteran Rights is not a psychedelic organization. That is Mark and Ryan. We are purveyors of healing spaces that are natural and on the land because that's deep medicine as it is. So
True story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, no, it's
Thank you for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Of
Love
course.
it.
Yeah, no, that's a personal journey. And yeah, obviously I don't have any medical background, so I can't tell anybody to do that either. But yeah, I don't know. It's all good.
It's all good.
Website's in the description. Guys, go there, go visit, donate if you can. If you can't, it's cool too. Just talk to somebody or don't. That's cool too. Pray or don't. That's cool too. You don't have to do
Both
anything,
in, bro.
actually.
So Tommy, we're both in people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Both
homeless
in, yeah.
people. They're both in.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And it's like we just had this beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
And like, but now I actually have to like go do dishes.
It's about important stuff.
Bro, I was gonna say, like, I hope during this hour and some change that we've been on the thing that things in your pipes have solidified. And if they haven't, please, bro,
Yeah.
don't leave that shit spackled on the back of the bowl.
No, I gotta clean that too. No, I'm gonna clean everything.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, it's just what it is.
It's all right. Cool. Send us a picture.
Yeah.
We're good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother.
That's
Hell
my
yeah.
that's my OnlyFans. That's my OnlyFans. That's my shit channel. That's how I fund this whole operation.
Hey.
It's a good deal, bro.
Peace
Take
out,
care, man.
Guys, thank
Appreciate
you so much.